Welcome back for another video. In the Expert series, we follow the transfer plans, captaincy, chip strategy of the top all-time managers ahead of each deadline. Between them, their combined rank history includes 5 top 100 finishes, 51 top 1Ks, and 326 top 10Ks. You won't find better data anywhere, so hit subscribe to follow this series throughout the season. So let's get into it, and starting with the manager highlight. Alex has broken into the top 10k after scoring 59 last week. He's up to 7.9k overall. Massive score in an otherwise low scoring game week. Did you manage to beat the Experts average of 38? Looking at their transfer activity then, and this week 15% are rolling the transfer into Double Game Week 7, 46% are making 1 transfer, 29% are making 2, and we've got 4% making 3 transfers. In terms of the hits that they're taking this week, 6% are on a -4 and one manager's on a -8. So 6% have got their wildcard active this week as well. We've got a wildcard team from one of the experts who has revealed their team to us. We'll look through that later. So which players are the most bought by the experts this week and who are they replacing? Alvarez is top unsurprisingly, with just over a half picking him up this week. This is massive compared to the overall ownership and transfers. 800,000 transfers in for Alvarez overall, which represents about 8% of managers. But can he break the curse? Sterling was the most bought in Game Week 4 after his haul, and then he blanked. And then it was Son last game week after his, and he blanked. Next up, Alvarez. So Man City are top in the league for expected goals after 5 games with 12.57 XG, and Alvarez represents a route into the best attack in the league that can benefit your rank beyond Haaland. Points are points though, wherever they come from. He is more than delivering on that front as well, with only Haaland on more points this season with 45. So he's on 8 more points than Alvarez, but double the price. Jackson, the most sold player, 40% drop in him. Is there a case to be made for holding Jackson given Chelsea's next 3? It really depends on the rest of your team and whether you have other priorities. For example, Martinelli's injured and he might miss Game Week 6, and Henry's out for the season. Both of them are actually among the most sold here. It's a logical move otherwise. Watkins is a tougher call to make, with Villa's fixtures about to turn very favourably. If you're already tripled up a Man City with something like Haaland, Foden and Diaz, then it's a pretty wasteful way to spend 2 transfers, removing 1 to accommodate Alvarez. Man City have got the first kickoff of Game Week 6, and Alvarez is unlikely to rise a 3rd time this week, so at this point you can wait for potential confirmation that he starts, as we might get early news on Saturday. If you're tripled up and we get news that Foden's benched, Alvarez starts, and that's a more understandable way to spend the 2 transfers. Elsewhere, a lot of Newcastle defence among the most transferred in players, Botman, Trippier and Schär here. We've only got a small sample size, but thus far Botman's been the best value, 0.5 expected goal involvement to Trippier's 0.79. But in terms of Trippier, top scoring defender last season, 6.5 mil, so a lot more than the rest of the Newcastle defence. If we compare his first 5 games of this season to his first 5 last season, he was playing more advanced last season. This season is on the left here and last season on the right. That said, Newcastle have had a tough opening run of games, so we might see him pushing further forward now. He's bound to pop up with a 12-pointer at some point in the coming weeks, an assist, a clean sheet and some bonus. Salah was on the score sheet in the Europa League, off the bench, so he's banging form and he's been rested ahead of the Anfield game against West Ham, just 5% picking him up this week. Onto chip usage, so no triple captaincy used yet, just 1 free hit used this season. 6% have got their wildcard active this week. FPL Charminator is one of them, and he sent his team into us, which is as follows. He's got Flecken in goal, a back 3 of Botman, Burn and Estepinian. Midfield 5 is Saka and Bumo, Diaby, Salah and Rashford, and up top he's got Alvarez and Haaland. On the bench is Areola, Cash, Archer and Kabore. Here's what he had to say. Main reasons for activating the wildcard was the team missing key players like Mbumo, Alvarez, Newcastle defence, my favourite FPL player, the Egyptian King. I realised most people will wildcard around Game Week 9 or 10 anyways, and this team's not very far off from them. I plan to get the best Spurs bin in Game Week 8 by selling Saka or Rashford, and also look at Wright from Game Week 10 onwards. FPL's supposed to be fun for me more than anything, and seeing Chelsea performances with triple exposure wasn't fun for me. Hope to catch a good couple of games before the wildcard teams come into play. Thanks for sending in, Charminator. Good luck on the wildcard. Very nice team. So we have a first of the season. Let's put up the experts captaincy for Game Week 6. For the first time this season, we've got 100% consensus among the experts, every single one of them captaining Haaland this week. So we'll keep this segment very short and sweet. Is there a case for anyone other than Haaland? I mean, they're home to Nottingham Forest. It doesn't seem like the week to be clever. Looking at the Game Week 6 projections, he is comfortably top. It's Salah in second. Salah and Alvarez probably the best alternatives if you fancy the punt. Moving on to the Experts team. Using their highest owned players, we can build the consensus team, and here's how it looks for Game Week 6. It's Pickford in goal, Estepinian, Botman and Chilwell back three. Botman joins the defence. Saka, Rashford, Fernandes, Maddison and Bumo in midfield. And up top, Alvarez joins Haaland with Jackson replaced. On the bench it's Turner, Kabore, Archer and Udogie. So since the double game week's only 1 week away now, and we have got Kabore here on the bench, let's talk about the double game week. Some of you are considering double game week transfers this week. One thing we have to bear in mind is there is 2 promoted teams in this double, so it's likely a low ceiling double. If you're looking at a Luton defender, just bear in mind this season they're conceding an XG every 46.5 minutes, so about every half of football, and you're looking for them to go 2 halves without conceding, or ideally 4 if you want 2 clean sheets in both games. Everton have been unlucky who they play first, with 2 goals scored from 7.63 XG, which actually ranks 12th in the league. Perhaps the Burnley game will be seen as a 6-pointer, so to speak, and that could be the low scoring one if anything. Morris is on 0.69 non-penalty XG this season, which ranks 22nd out of 35 total forwards, and many of those have been cameos. Not encouraging reading. Chilwell's become a concern after the benching in Game Week 5. We talked lots about his chances for Game Week 6 in yesterday's team decisions video, so give that a listen after. In a nutshell, there's still a fair chance he starts, and also keep an eye on what's said in the press conferences, which might give us more of an indication. So although Bruno and Rashford have been disappointing so far, Burnley's a great fixture and there's no reason to panic sell right now. And in the Champions League this week, they both picked up assists against Bayern. Pickford keeps his spot in goal with not enough transfer activity for other keepers to join so far this season. Looking at where the template might be shifting to, Flecken and Areola look like a good pair. Raya could be set to cement himself as Arsenal's number 1 again, which is one to watch for only 4.8 mil. He did start again in the Champions League, so let's see what happens in the North London derby. Each game week we ask the experts to send in their tips and insight for the game week ahead. Here's what they said this week. FPL Hitman says keeping faith with Chelsea and United assets due to their good fixtures for the next 2 to 3 weeks. Plan to wildcard around the second international break. Newcastle defence to monitor for minutes due to the midweek games would be my priority targets for the next game week. Matt Brooks says the wildcard is tempting this week, but for those feeling the pressure, the template wildcard team this week that feels massive to miss out on is totally different from what it would have been 2 to 3 weeks ago, and it'll probably be totally different again in a few weeks. So make sure if you are pulling the trigger, make sure it's right for your team and don't give in to the pressure. Anana says, I think there's a lot of managers panicking after last week's so-called bad week, which means that they're wildcarding or taking hits. The game it could have been totally different if Sterling didn't hit the bar, Colwell's goal wasn't ruled out, Martinelli's goal wasn't ruled out for offside, and Jackson didn't hit the post. All of these are very fine margins and hasn't changed my perception of the game massively. Patience is key. FPL Spaceman says, wildcarding anywhere in game week 6 to 10 looks pretty viable depending on how your team is set up. I'm likely going to try to play through and save it for around game week 18 when Man City and Brentford have a blank, but we'll be ready to pivot and hit the button should my team pick up a few injuries at once. Andy's another manager on a wildcard, and he says, wildcard time. Majority of talk is around game week 8, 9 or 10 wildcards, but don't see much difference in the team setup, so would rather move now and 4 players I want, Salah, DRB, double Newcastle defence. Honestly, not a reaction to a bad game week 5. FPL Obsessed Family says, it's been one of the trickiest starts I can remember, but I'm hoping that by not panicking and making sensible transfers I'll be able to work my way back up the ranks. FPL Sean says, not sure I'm buying the calls for triple or even double Newcastle defence. With Livramento and Hall lurking, I can see rotation coming over the next few weeks. TomTom says, Burnley look tailor-made for Rashford, who I bring in this week. Having played the early wildcard already, I'm looking at ways to bring Salah in shortly. Game week 4 wildcard was a controversial move, but I have the points, and game week 6 wildcarders are wildcarding into my team plus Salah. Thanks for watching. Hit like before you go if the video was helpful and subscribe for more every week. We'll be live for the deadline tomorrow and we should catch some early team news. See you then.